Ever felt like someone's pulling strings you can't see? Like you're making choices that aren't really yours? There's an ancient principle most people never learn. When you feel you're being manipulated, you are. That gut feeling isn't paranoia, it's your only early warning system. Today, I'm going to show you why trusting that instinct might be the difference between living on your terms or dancing to someone else's tune. Stay until the end, you're going to be surprised by what you discover. What if your gut instinct is actually a survival mechanism? Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling off? Like something just happened, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Maybe you agreed to something you didn't want to do. Maybe you felt smaller than you walked in. You try to logic your way through it, but that uncomfortable feeling in your chest won't leave. There's a reason for that, and it's not what you think. Your brain is essentially a pattern recognition supercomputer built over millions of years. Long before you consciously understand what's happening, your limbic system, the ancient part of your brain, has already clocked micro-expressions, voicing consistencies, strategic pauses, and subtle contradictions. You feel it before you know it. That's not a bug, that's a feature. Here's what most people miss. Skilled manipulation works in the shadows. A master manipulator will never admit they're playing you. Instead, they'll make you doubt yourself. They'll tell you you're too sensitive, overreacting, imagining things. There's even a term for it: gaslighting, and it's one of the most devastating weapons in the arsenal of people who play others. But here's the secret nobody tells you: your intuition doesn't need evidence to be right. When something feels wrong, something is wrong. The problem? We've been conditioned to distrust ourselves, to seek external validation, to accept someone else's narrative when it's delivered with confidence. Think about the great survivors throughout history, those who navigated courts full of treachery, political battlefields, deadly negotiations. They all developed one critical skill: listening to what isn't said, watching what's omitted, feeling when the energy shifts. That's high-performance emotional intelligence in action. The truth is, you already know when you're being played. What you need now is to trust that awareness and, more importantly, learn how to act on it. Because doubt is your only real defense, but only if you use it for you, not against you. And what if I told you there's a specific way to turn that vague feeling into absolute clarity? How do master manipulators control you without force? High-level manipulation isn't loud. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't demand. It's smooth, elegant, almost invisible. It's a chess match where you don't even realize you're playing, and they're already 5 moves ahead. There's an old interrogation technique used by seasoned investigators. They never ask the question they actually want answered. They build context. They make you feel comfortable, valued, heard. And when your guard drops, information flows naturally, like it was your idea to share all along. The same principle applies in personal relationships, business deals, corporate environments. The skilled manipulator doesn't ask for what they want directly. They engineer a situation where you volunteer it. They plant seeds of doubt about your own perceptions. They reinforce your emotional dependence. They make you feel special until the moment they need you to feel worthless. One of the most common patterns is what we call reality inversion. You confront someone about problematic behavior, and suddenly, you're the one apologizing. How did that happen? Simple. The manipulator redirected the conversation, focused on an irrelevant detail, brought up something from your past, or played the victim so convincingly that you felt guilty. Another brutal tactic is gradual isolation. This doesn't happen overnight. It starts with subtle comments about your friends, your family, your choices. Are you sure that person is good for you? I just think you could spend more time here with me. Nobody understands you like I do. Before you know it, your support network has shrunk, and you're emotionally dependent on the person manipulating you. And here's the worst part. Manipulators are masters at messing with your sense of reality. They deny things you know happen. They twist your words. They make you question your own memory and perception. Over time, you stop trusting yourself and start trusting only them. The damage this causes isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Your brain actually rewires itself to accommodate the false narrative. You become complicit in your own manipulation. But there's a way to break this cycle, and it starts with recognizing the game being played. Why silence is your most powerful weapon against control. Here's something that will change how you see every interaction. Manipulators hate silence. They despise pauses. They need momentum, emotional flow, rapid-fire exchanges that keep you reactive instead of thoughtful. Want to know why? Because silence breaks their spell. There's a technique used by elite negotiators called the strategic pause. When you feel pressure to decide, to agree, to act, you stop. Literally, dead silence. Breathe. Observe the other person's reaction. Watch what happens. A genuine person respects your need to process. A manipulator will fill that silence with more pressure, more urgency, more emotional leverage. This is where high performance meets practical psychology. The ability to create space between stimulus and response is what separates people who control their lives from people whose lives are controlled. It's not about being cold or calculating. It's about being deliberate. Here's your practical action step. Starting to implement a personal rule. Anytime you feel pressure to make a quick decision involving emotion, money, or commitment, you pause. Doesn't matter how convincing the argument sounds. Doesn't matter how urgent it seems. You pause, and you say, I need to think about this. I'll get back to you. Watch the reaction. If there's aggressive resistance, you just identified an attempted manipulation. Another red flag to watch for: when someone uses your emotions as weapons. If you really love me, after everything I've done for you, you're so ungrateful. These aren't arguments, they're emotional levers. And once you recognize the lever, it loses its power. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You don't need proof that you're being manipulated to take action. Your intuition is evidence enough. If the relationship makes you question your sanity, if you're constantly walking on eggshells, if you can't be yourself, you already have all the proof you need. Freedom starts when you stop seeking external permission to trust yourself. That's when everything changes. That's when you take your power back. Drop freedom in the comments. If you've ever had to walk away from a manipulative situation, what made you finally see it? And if this content is hitting home, smash that like button and subscribe. We've got a lot more human behavior investigation coming your way. How doubt becomes your shield in a world of hidden agendas. Society teaches you to be positive, to give people the benefit of the doubt, to trust. And that's beautiful until you realize manipulators use exactly those virtues as entry points. They know good people hesitate to believe the worst, and that hesitation is the opening they need. But here's the paradox. Doubt, when properly calibrated, doesn't make you paranoid or bitter. It makes you free, because the person who questions is the person who sees clearly. And clarity breaks manufactured narratives. Think about great detectives, intelligence analysts, military strategists. What do they have in common? A razor-sharp ability to question everything, not from pessimism, but from mental discipline. They understand that truth stands on its own. It doesn't need emotional pressure, artificial urgency, or veiled threats. Truth can wait. Lies can't. So how do you apply this in real life? Here's a game changer. Document everything important. When something significant is said, repeat it out loud to confirm. Just so I'm clear, you're saying that? This forces clarity and creates mental record. Manipulators hate this because it eliminates the ambiguity they use as a tool. Another powerful practice: trust your exit. If something isn't right, you don't need to explain, justify, or convince anyone. You can simply leave. You can end the conversation, the relationship, the deal. That's ultimate high performance, knowing when the best move is not to play at all. Here's what I've learned investigating human behavior. Manipulation thrives in complexity and dies in simplicity. The more convoluted someone's explanation, the more defensive they get about straightforward questions. The more they try to confuse you, the more likely you're being played. Your doubt isn't a character flaw. It's a defense mechanism. It's your brain telling you something doesn't add up. And in a world where everyone has an agenda, that's not cynicism, that's survival intelligence. Life isn't a game against others. But when someone puts you on a board without your consent, doubt is the piece that gives you back control. Use it wisely. Use it ruthlessly when necessary. Comment: not playing if you're done being someone's chess piece. What's your personal strategy against manipulation? Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next investigation into the human mind.